Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin. Austin, your daily dose of sports and entertainment. And as you can see, it is the 2025 Dallas Cowboys record prediction. And I've got my Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys jersey on. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. I would try to keep my bias out of this as much as possible, but can the Cowboys win the NFC East? Let's talk about it as I predict the 2025 Cowboys record. If you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss another great video here on Sports Talk with Austin on YouTube. It really does help the channel out and lets me know I'm doing my job right. Even if I am a Cowboys fan, as you see my Dak Prescott and Cowboys jersey on. But with that being said, let's get into the 2025 Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys as we go game by game and predicting their record. So we start with at the Philadelphia Eagles, 8:20 on NBC, the 20th season of the NFL on NBC. The Cowboys on banner night will play the Philadelphia Eagles on banner night. And there was a lot of things that happened this past offseason as the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, he was injured the previous year, but he recently got a brand new contract extension. CD got a brand new contract. Finally got his contract extension. We traded for George Pickens to add to the wide receiver room. But there's still a lot of questions within the Cowboys organization of what 2025 is going to look like. And this is a great test to start off the season at the Philadelphia Eagles. How much has the defense improved or not? Brian Schottenheimer is now the shot callers. He's the brand new head coach as Mike McCarthy is out. To many of Cowboy fans' despairs, or not, depending on which side of the fence you leaned on. I leaned on not firing McCarthy, but I don't make the decisions. But as for this game at Philadelphia, I think Cowboys Eagles is always fun. It's always entertaining. It always seems to deliver a great product. But I do have the Dallas Cowboys losing week one and starting their season 0 for 1 again, as much as it to my dismay. I just think the Philadelphia Eagles have tooled, even though they've might take a step back this year. I still think they're still quite a bit better than the Cowboys are on paper, and I think the Eagles at home get it done. But week two, they've got the Giants on Sunday, September 14th at home. I think they get the W. The Cowboys have owned the Giants historically over the last 5 to 6 years under Dak Prescott and company. I think the Giants, like I said, I think Brian Daboll's a fantastic head coach, but I still think the Giants have got a lot of learning to do. They're building something on that D line, like I've said before. But I do think the Cowboys get the W, and I think Dak and George Pickens start to get it going along with CD. Then week three, Sunday, September 21st, at the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. A really tough game because Soldier Field is not an easy environment to play, but I do think the Cowboys will eat this game out and go to 2-1. I like Ben Johnson. I think he's going to be marvelous for the Bears, but I still think the Bears have got a lot to learn. I think their offensive line, even though they made some upgrades in the draft and in the offseason, I still want to see it in action. And Caleb Williams, how much has he improved as the quarterback, and is he the man? But I do think the Cowboys do get the W. Then Sunday, September 28th versus the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football in Jerry's world. And the Packers, they went through quite a bit of an offseason as well, releasing Jair Alexander a couple days ago, which was, now the Packers are going to have to rely on a lot of young corners, and CD and George Pickens. This may be the best game for them to strut their stuff as the new duo in Dallas. But can the Cowboys get an efficient enough run game to make the Packers fear it? And the Packers historically have owned the Cowboys here recently, whether it's been Mike McCarthy, whether it's been Jason Garrett. It doesn't matter who the head coach is or who's quarterbacking. The Green Bay Packers have owned the Cowboys and had their number here more recently than ever. But I do think the Cowboys start the season off 3-1. I do think they beat the Green Bay Packers because Packers. I do think at home the Cowboys will have the advantage at home. And I do think historically in the regular season, the Cowboys seem to do better at home versus the Packers than on the road. Then they go at the New York Jets, which this could be these next two games before they play the Commanders should be layups, right? Well, the Jets are improving. The Jets always have a tough defense, and the Cowboys, knowing our history, have been known to blow games like this. And coming off a big win versus the Packers, this could be a perfect letdown spot. But I do think the Cowboys go to New York and they avoid the upset and get the W, thus starting the season off 3-1. Starting the season off 4-1, excuse me. Then they got at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers are improving. They are getting better. They are getting a whole lot healthier. Healthier. They were riddled with injuries last year. They're building a great defense. Bryce Young began to show strides down the stretch of the regular season. And the Panthers drafting Trent McMillan with the number 8 overall pick. Some Panthers fans think that is stretch. Some don't. They wouldn't have taken him that high. I do think the Cowboys are still a little bit ahead of the Panthers in their rebuild. I think Cowboys go to Carolina and get it done, even though they have some nice pieces. Now, Cowboys got the Commanders at home, and the Cowboys historically, since the Commanders have been a thing, and even as the Redskins have had their number. But Jane Daniels and Dan Quinn and a new era in Washington brings different things to the table, and these games are no longer gimmies. Now, like I said, the two previous games at New York and at Carolina, this could be a potential upset alert because we could be looking ahead to Washington. But I do think, even with the new additions with Washington, I still think the Cowboys at home get it done, even though they beat us there last year at home. I still think we beat Washington at home the first time around. Now we go at Denver, and this is where it starts to happen. I've got us losing this game. I've got the Cowboys losing at the Broncos. I think they have a history of this. The Cowboys are starting to find their rhythm, looking good, better than people expect. And then they go to Denver like they have in the past and lose this game. So, Cowboys week week 9 against the Cardinals on Monday Night Football at home. At home, I got the Cowboys bouncing back and winning this game. I think the Cardinals, they're a nice young team. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison. I think Shane Gannon is building a nice defense over there for the Arizona Cardinals. But I do think they are young and still inexperienced, and I do think the Cowboys wide receiving core and Dak Prescott can take advantage of that. I've got them winning this game. At the Las Vegas Raiders, this is where I have the Cowboys winning as well. I think the Cowboys week 11 at the Las Vegas Raiders, I have the Cowboys winning as well in Vegas. But like I said before about the Raiders, they're a young team. They're learning, but I do think the Cowboys will pull it out in the end. Now, this is the tricky stretch because this is not an easy path to take, and I do think the Cowboys win at home against the Eagles in week 12. Week 12. 12, I do think we split this year with the Eagles, go 1-1, and I do think the Cowboys win the home game. But I do think on Thanksgiving we will lose to the Kansas City Chiefs at home. Patrick Mahomes is that guy, and I think the Chiefs, and Andy Reid historically do very well in primetime spots, and the Cowboys, as far as we know, by my record predictions, is doing pretty well. So this would be the spot for a letdown. Then they go at Detroit, and I think this is another loss. I think the Lions, even though they may take a step back from Ben Johnson and company and Aaron Glenn on the defensive side of the ball, but I still think the Lions offense is still too good, and I think our defense will once again get torched in Detroit. And then we got the Vikings on Sunday, December 14th, week 15, at home on Sunday Night Football. And this is becoming a must win because the Cowboys have lost 2 straight after starting the season strong. And I do think the Cowboys bounce back and get a W. I think this is one of them fun games you should go out of your way to watch. Vikings Cowboys is always fun. And I do think the Vikings, even though on paper they bring back one of the most talented rosters and one of the most returning productions of the season, I still think the Cowboys at home get it done after getting embarrassed. Now, on to week 16 versus the Los Angeles Chargers, 1 p.m. And this is becoming a budding rivalry of two teams that sometimes split, sometimes have had their history. We all remember 2020, the COVID year. Cowboys win it on a 59-yard field goal from Brett Maher's leg against a young Justin Herbert led team. And then we all remember last year, the year before under Brandon Staley when Kellen Moore left. That was a fun game as well. But I do think the Cowboys do win this game at home, but it comes at a price because week 17 they go at the Washington Commanders on Netflix on Christmas, and I have the Commanders at home beating the Cowboys. I have the Cowboys taking the L on the road. In week 18, I think they go at the Giants, and I think they get the W over the Giants in a time to be determined game. So with all that being said, that leaves the record prediction for the Cowboys. For 2025, I have the Dallas Cowboys record prediction at 11-6. I think the Cowboys are due for a bounce back year. Dak Prescott and company, I think, will be healthier on offense. And I think the O-line, even though they've got a lot of questionable pieces, Zach Martin retired. I do think Michael Parsons does want his money this year. I think he will be on a tear as always. I think Trayvon Diggs and company, and Deron Bland back healthy. I do think the Cowboys are due for a bounce back year. And I do think their offense will come into form. I predict the Cowboys will go 11-6. I think their floor is 8-9 because they could easily lose to the Bears. I could see the Packers game. I could see them losing to the Panthers or Jets somehow. I could see a world where the Cardinals beat them. There's a couple games in here where it could flip flop on its head. Or maybe the Giants are more ahead of schedule and we split with the Giants. I could see a game, Chargers and Vikings. I could see going to Vegas, coming off a bye, but I think the floor is 8-9. Predictions 11-6. I think the ceiling's 12-5. I think they could. I think they could sweep the Commanders possibly if the Commanders have a regression year. It all depends on how that goes. But my prediction is 11-6 for the Cowboys, boys, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Until next time, this has been Sports Talk with Austin. Peace out, everybody, and party on and go Cards and go Cowboys.